Hey everyone, welcome back to the Outpost. Glad you had time to stop by. I'm going to do another little short question and answer session. But before I get started, I want to reach out to those who are engineers, architects, carpenters, contractors, plumbers, people of that nature. I've done some building before, but I'm not a master at any of it. I do enough to get by. I did build another home. I did wire it, I did plumb it, I didn't really have any problems with it, but there may be some tricks or some tips that I could use to make things a lot easier. So I'm going to start something that I'm going to call a Contractor's Corner, and it will kind of be involved in the question and answer because I'm going to pose some questions myself to you guys that I just mentioned, and this will be for the whole community where we can actually learn from your knowledge that you've had in doing your particular trade. So this Contractor's Corner will be for everybody involved, those who are following this question and answer session, but I'm going to call it still Q&A Contractor's Corner. I'm going to start sealing the beams before I start building walls and putting floors and things like that. So I want to know, my idea was to use linseed oil. I want to know if there's anything else better that I could use that maybe you guys might be aware of. I'm not looking for anything super expensive, nothing by 3M or anything like that, but something maybe that is just as good that doesn't cost as much. That's my idea on the Contractor's Corner so that all of us in this whole Outpost community, we can learn and stick together on things that involve building. I had a question here that what type of sawmill is the best for a beginner? Well, not really sure what sawmill would be the best. A sawmill that I purchased in there is the Norwood LM29. There is one size smaller and there's also a size bigger. The one I'm using will cut up to a 30-inch log. The smaller one, I can't remember, it seemed like it was like up to maybe a 26-inch log. But if you're going to do anything of any size, I think it had a 14, maybe a 12 horse motor on it. I would suggest possibly not going any smaller than that if you're going to do anything of any size, because the beams that I have for the floor joist down here are 7 inches wide, 10 inches deep, and the vertical posts are 7 by 7. It takes a pretty good sized log to be able to turn that out. So like I say, I wouldn't go any smaller than that. I know that you can go down really small to like a chainsaw mill, but that's going to be a lot of work, and I really didn't have to do that here, so I went ahead and spent the money. Now the one that I purchased was $6,300 and some odd dollars. It wasn't all that expensive. It has totally already paid for itself, so I really appreciate Norwood and the products that they're turning out, because I haven't really had any issues out of it other than the fact that I have to take my blades and I have to have them sharpened. Anyway, that was another question that I had. I was going to go ahead and put it in kind of like a buck heating stove, but I think I'm going to go ahead and put in a fireplace with an insert in it, just because I like that better, to see a big open fire. And I can actually put a heatilator in there, which will bring some of the heat out, because it traps the heat between two sheets of metal that are about separated by about 4 inches, and you put fans in the bottom and it's got vents in the top, and it will blow through and heat will flow. My grandfather's house had one of those, and we increased the heat production, I don't know, maybe 50% over what we had, which I think they say on a standard fireplace it's somewhere between 15 to 25%. I think I'm going to go ahead and pour a pad down there about 12 inches deep, maybe 6 by 6, over here in the very center on the back side of the house, and I'll build a rock fireplace up, and I'll have that in there. And if I decide to later on, like we did, he actually closed off the front of the fireplace, had a piece of sheet metal cut, and he put a 8-inch metal flue into that, and had a buck stove sitting out there that he actually used in his later years. But like I said, you know, until I get to that point, I would prefer to get out here, prefer to have good exercise, cut my own wood, and have the fireplace in there because I really like to watch the fire. So that was another question that I had. What's the best heat source? You know, I know that there are a lot of people that are using those little wood pellets, and they're working on stoves kind of like what I mentioned. I haven't really owned one of those. I really can't say, but from what I hear, the people that have them say that they really work good. I also know that the people that bought my other cabin have some sort of a unit that they actually set it inside a gazebo that I built that wasn't too far from the house, and they have wood stacked around that, and he actually goes in there and he keeps that filled up with firewood, and then he's got some kind of pipe that goes down underneath, and it traps the heat somehow and blows it in the house. I haven't really seen it because I don't go up there that much, but they seem to like it really well. So I know that they have some sort of outside units that you can put outside. That way you don't have to deal with any of the smoke or anything, and pump the heat on the inside. I'm sure that there are other things that you could do, but you know, like I was saying, I'm probably just going to do the fireplace, and then later on in my years I may do the buck stove, and then I do plan on having electricity put up here at some point, because you know, I will get to the point where I can't get out and cut wood anymore when I get older, and so I will have some sort of central heat and air in there. And the other thing too is I'm going to have 3-foot doors. All the doors, front, bedroom, bathroom, everything will be wheelchair ready, basically, in the event that something like that happens to me, where I'll still be able to get in and out and be able to function. So I'm going to go ahead and cut this video off right here because I don't want these types of videos to go too long. But like I said, y'all be watching for the Contractor's Corner on the Q&A videos, because I'm going to throw some questions out there that I have myself, and I will get some input back from these guys, and we will take that knowledge and we'll move forward with it. Another thing that I want to mention, because I've got some comments from different people and I've responded, but I continue to get the same kind of comment, so I just wanted to say it again for those people that are watching. The footers on this house, if you watch that video where I was actually digging and placing the footers, where my bearing posts are, there are 12 of them. Where those bearing posts sit, that concrete slab is 24 by 24 by 12 inches deep. That's plenty deep enough for this soil right here, because I'm actually sitting on shale. The side of this mountain was dug out, and you know, we were pushing shale, which is basically a rock, but we were pushing shale off to the other side. And mixed in with that also is red clay. Now when it's dry, it's hard as a woodpecker's lip. But the back half of the house, all of that is sitting on shale. And in the front portion, it's dug way down deep. I know that when it rained, it looked like, you know, because the rain couldn't go anywhere for the really shallow areas where it wasn't level, you could see water standing. When I build this fireplace, you contractors, I'm thinking about doing a 6-foot square slab next to the slab that I've already got, which I just did a perimeter type slab because that's really all I needed for my bearing posts. The underneath side of the house is just going to get a blanket of like black visqueen, really heavy mill visqueen, laid down in there, and I'm also going to put a venting system in there that maybe I'll power it by solar, where it will have a fan that's constantly blowing, so it will have an exit, so it'll have a draft under there. But I wanted to put some black visqueen down just to kind of hold any moisture down that might be coming up through the ground, and also the fact that if I get in there and crawl around underneath, that I'm not getting my knees all gummed up with or dirty by some red clay and grinding that into my jeans. But how thick do you think that I should put that slab for the weight of a fireplace? I was thinking if I went 12 inches deep, 6 by 6, that might be sufficient, because this other cabin that I built, if I remember correctly, that's what I did. And it has a fireplace that goes all the way up my roof line. It was a cathedral ceiling. It was 22 feet high. This is not near that high. But it had a lot of weight sitting on it. And if I remember correctly, that's the type of slab that I built. So what do you think? I would appreciate any kind of information that you can give me on that. And I would also probably put some steel rebar in it. It's about the size of your finger, crisscrossing it back and forth, and maybe two rows of it. So that's a question I got for you guys. Anyway, I'm going to go ahead and wrap this up. Appreciate you all tuning in. I look forward to seeing you back up here at the Outpost in the future.